Hello world, my name is Z, or you can call me Mr. Z. I am a web developer and I am also a consultant at Z World Webs. My one goal is to develop custom websites that are specifically catered to your organization's needs. I completely understand that building a website is an exhilarating, exciting, and significant step in connecting with your audience. Your organization has the potential to make a meaningful impact, whether it's supporting animal rights, advocating for equality, combating human trafficking, or honoring the brave individuals who have served our country. Your mission is too important to be held back by the challenges a website can present. And I am here to ensure that your website works for you, not against you. Whether it's maintaining, developing, or redeveloping a custom website that is specifically catered to your needs. And with that being said, I would be more than delighted to learn more about your organization and, of course, develop a website Z World is waiting for. Thank you.
Hey friends, I've been thinking, we all have our strengths, right? There are things I'm great at and things I'm definitely not great at. I can talk to anyone, anywhere, but ask me to add something to a website or an app. Yeah, that's where things get a little messy. Oops, I love speaking, I love sharing stories. But social media, all those hashtags, algorithms, trends, that's a jungle I still haven't mapped out. Now, coming up with ideas that bring people together, that's my sweet spot. But bookkeeping, let's just say numbers, and I have agreed to stay in separate corners. And you know what? That's okay, because someone out there is good at those things. And when we work together, that's when the magic happens. Community Pay It Forward has never been about one person. It's a program built by many to support even more. Every single one of us brings something special to the table. We all have talents that make us strong on our own. But imagine how powerful we become when we combine them. That's the heart of Community Pay It Forward. Your skills, my skills, our hearts, working side by side to make a real difference. So tell me, what are you good at? Let's discover it together. Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement.
Born into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here? Took a hold of her life, left at night, stepping out of her fear. Bring me home, out of love.
Hey there, everyone. It's me, Zach Clayton, with Community Pay It Forward, the Come Together Compass, and the IMpACT podcasting networks. I'd like to welcome you all to Community Impact. This month is the beginning. We all know that we're in the beginning of March. What a lot of people don't know, and is this is something very very special to me, due to the injuries I sustained after my accident. March is Brain Awareness Month, and Brain Injury Awareness Month. I apologize for that. And I would invite you to join us every week this month as we try to discuss different aspects of brain injuries, what people have been through, what people have worked hard to overcome, and just prove to people that, you know what, brain injuries are like everything else, okay? Look, I'm going to oversimplify this because I'm not sure if it's an simplification. If you break your finger, you have to learn how to do things different until that finger heals. Well, brain injuries are one of those things that we're not quite sure how well they ever heal. Okay. Brain injuries are something that happen to millions and millions of people throughout the world, yet it is the least understood injury or affliction there is, because brains are just, they're, well, quite honestly, they're just a different animal, and people don't know a lot about them. So I invite you to join us every day of this, or every week of this month, as we talk about brain injuries, how, if you have one, who you can go to, who you can talk to, and potentially just understand the road ahead, because the road ahead is not easy. It's not easy, but again, it's absolutely not impossible. It is no different than anything else that you've ever had to deal with. You just have to learn how to do things again. Yes, there are severities of brain injuries that do make things much more difficult. And unfortunately, there are some brain injuries that make it to where, life ultimately has to change. Um, there's also, unfortunately, brain injuries that people just don't make it back from. But brain injuries are, again, like everything else. You look, it's not always a death sentence. It's definitely a learning experience. We would like to take and share and ask you to go and check out our really good friends, at Hydro with Hope. They focus on hydrocephalus, which is it's found as a child, and the creator of Hydro with Hope has had to have multiple surgeries throughout his years, and they have to put stents in for relieving water on the brain and stuff like that. So it's very very complicated, but it's also one of those things. Jeff has said a couple times in my conversations with him that growing up with this, he didn't realize that there was something different about him. You know, he he just thought this was a way of life. Quite honestly, there's poetry in what he said there. Because if we stop looking at a lot of these things, well, this was put in front of me, this affliction was put in front of me, now I need to deal with it. If we look at it, it's like, you know what, this is just the way of life. Maybe we can take and get through things easier and more successful. So um, it's it's a learning experience without a doubt. But again, so is everything else in our lives. So I invite you to go to communitypayitforward.us, and in the search bar, just type in Hydro with Hope or Hydro, and a couple pages are going to pop up, and those are the pages that Jeff is on. We are in the middle of restructuring the mission partners. So just go in, look for Hydro with Hope, and you're going to be able to find them. We are trying to clean up the website a little bit and make it easier to navigate. Real quickly, I'd like to speak to all of my partners out there, all of you wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people, and tell you that coming up on April 28th is Pay It Forward Day. And we would like to do what we did last year, and we would like to take this day and the name of the program and wrap it up into a nice little bow and present people with your participation in the program. And we do this by asking you four very, very simple questions. And, the questions, and you know what? I've actually got them right here. The questions are: why did I start my business? What is my business or organization? Where is my company headed? And the last one is: how can I pay it forward today for a better tomorrow? Very simply, what are we working on today to make tomorrow a better place for your community, your world, yourselves and others? So please contact me so we can get the information. I will be sending an email out to everybody asking you to make sure that we've got the clearest and most up to date information for you, so we can make sure that your profile is up to date. So, but so please, to all my partners, giving, mission, and sponsorship, please make sure that you reach out to me so we can get this done. So this I would like to welcome you back to the Community Impact Podcast. This is a place where we come together, learn together, and support each other through real life challenges. Today, we're talking about something that affects millions of people but is still misunderstood. I am one of those people. And I can honestly tell you, it is something that right when you think you have a handle on it, it will switch and turn everything upside down, and you'll be like, well, now I don't understand anything. And it's frustrating. It does get frustrating. Um, I'm almost reluctant to say this, but many of you who watched Monday's um, Footprints Forward, you got to see me in a very, very difficult spot. I couldn't speak. I had troubles concentrating. It was a tough one. And I'm kind of one of those guys that I don't wait for things to get better. I'm just going to bowl ahead and keep going, because if I wait to if I wait to do things until I feel better, I may not ever get them done. You just don't know what's happening. So, um again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm special, because I'm not. Because every single one of us has something that is like this. Maybe it's a mental block that you've got. Maybe it's a physical block you've got. Possibly there's just something within your family structure. Your child needs um a parent to go to scouts with them on a night. We all have to learn and adapt. I just choose to bring this up because brain injuries, thank you for the alarm. I appreciate that. Thank you for making the noise. Brain injuries are something that so many people are dealing with. And one, they are misunderstood. And two, there are people that just flat out don't understand that a person who is dealing with the brain injury has the potential to do anything in this world. So, look, brain injuries, not just the dramatic ones we see in the movies or even in real life. One of the very first people that we helped, and as a matter of fact, just recently, a great, great friend of mine and my wife's and our friend Jan, due to pressure on the brain, they had to have a piece of the skull removed so the pressure didn't push up against the skull. These are some of the drastic things that have to happen. And it's quite shocking when you look at that and see that and you think about that delicate organ that somebody taking and thwicking your head just can cause problems with. And it's exposed just underneath the skin itself. It's a scary thought, you know. These injuries just, they don't just happen in football. We're talking about everyday survivors, our coworkers, our neighbors, the family members, the people who are rebuilding their lives while still showing up to work, still raising families, and still trying to be part of the world. Brain injuries do not look the same for everyone. They do not heal on a schedule. And that is the most important thing I want to express. You are not in control of your injury healing. Okay? As a matter of fact, you have less control of healing your brain than you have of I almost think of breathing. Trying to heal your brain, it it does it when it's ready. And again, there's nothing you can do to make it go better. You can just do what your neurologist tells you to do. You can do what your doctors tell you to do, your team tells you to do. And you can protect yourself from some of the other dumb stuff that we do to our brains every day. You know, here's where I insert the joke about listening to politics all day because that'll make your brain mush. They don't just disappear because someone looks fine on the outside. And today we're going to talk about what people are learning to work with after a brain injury, what challenges they face, and how we can help them succeed in the workplace and in life. One of the things that we're going to introduce today is a worksheet that is going to be available to you in the next couple days on the Come Together Compass page. And this is a worksheet that you can use when somebody comes in and they say, "Hey, you know what? I did have a brain trauma, and there are some times that I get migraines, or maybe it's someone just with migraines. A migraine is a brain injury. you know Maybe there's times that they need to sit in a dark room with no sound, with nothing. Folks, there is one light, well, two, I guess, on in my office right now while I'm recording this, and most of the light that you see is from these monitors. Okay? I have a yellow light here and a greenish yellow light over here, and I guess I've got an incense burner over there that's got a quite bright light on it as well. My office is almost always dark. Adrian calls it my dungeon for a reason. It's one of the ways that I'm able to maintain my ability to work. It's one way that I am able to function with the headaches and continue to do what I need to do. So, look, this isn't going to be a medical lecture. I'm not a scientist. I'm not smart enough to tell you about brain injuries, but this is a human conversation. A conversation about patience, dignity, and understanding. A conversation about how we can be better teammates, better coworkers, and quite frankly, just better people to each other. Understanding brain injuries makes it easier for you to succeed with someone, and it makes it easier for them to succeed because there's the expectations everyone naturally has, but this makes it to where you understand that if someone's coming in, they're a little slow, they're a little lost, maybe one day, you understand what's going on. Okay. So, once again, brain injuries come in many, many different forms. Some of them they're almost cliche words that we use every day. Okay. But traumatic injuries from accidents, strokes, oxygen loss, infections, tumors, long term effects from repeated minor impacts. Each one affects the brain differently. And because the brain controls everything we do, the symptoms can show up in surprising ways. You may end up in a situation where you're doing something you've done 1,000 times, and then all of a sudden your brain goes on a little glitch, and you really feel like, oh, what the hell was that? It's not fun. It's not fun at all to and in certain situations it'll scare the hell out of you. Once again, it's never something that you can sit there and say, I've got this under complete and total control. Okay? No. A lot of injuries are the same way. But the brain injury to me is a little different, partly because I suffer, I deal with the brain injury. I suffer with it, and I am doing things well within myself to make my brain injury less of an excuse for my day-to-day life. So, some people struggle with memory, not because they're careless, but because the part of the brain that organizes information is healing, or unfortunately, it's wearing out. We see this in age. We see this after accidents. No, we see this just because it happens. Some people struggle with overstimulus stimulation. Um, People with autism, not because they're dramatic, but because their brain is working overtime to filter noise, light, and movement. Here's another. All the time, I ask you, please, if you're going to call me, text me first. This is a perfect example on why I say that. I say that because being deaf in one ear and having this TBI, every voice in the world, every noise that I hear comes from one ear, comes into this one little hole in my head. And when it gets in there, it's harder for the input information to go where it's supposed to go because it's all coming in as just a garbled mess. And so if you call me and when we'll say at a grocery store, and I hear the intercoms and the music and the shopping carts and the kids screaming and the people talking and the slamming of the freezer doors and the wobble of the wheel and all this stuff that's going on. I hear that all in the one ear, and it makes anxiety in me raise because everything is going on. Plus, you have the bright lights on top of that. You have the in certain stores you have like the strobing lights or the flashes or whatever you have, which makes things just uncomfortable and harder to understand. And that's the reason why I ask you, anytime that you give us a call, please text me first. Allow me to get into a place where I can have a conversation with you, where I can sit in a room where the only thing that I hear is the lovely sounds of my fish tank. Okay? I can have a wonderful conversation with people right now. Because right now, this, and of course, the dogs running in and out, that's the only thing I hear right now. So it's easier for me to concentrate. So that hopefully that explains a little bit better why I asked you to give me a call before or give me a text before you call. So um but some people struggle with the stimulation, not because they're dramatic, but because their brain is working overtime to filter noise, light, and movement. Again, it's more difficult than that statement seems. Some people struggle with fatigue, not because they're lazy, but because their brain is burning energy just to stay balanced. I get tired very quickly at times. I will take a nap because I'm having a headache, and then I'll wake up with an even worse headache. But I will be in a situation where there's no other option than to take a nap. It's annoying. It's aggravating. But you have to listen to what your head's telling you to do. You don't make up the rules. Your brain makes up the rules. So, some people struggle with emotional regulation, not because they're unstable, but because their brain's communication pathways are rebuilding or have changed. We've all been around people who emotionally can turn on a dime. We've been around some of those people who emotionally they turn on a dime, and you're just like, how do you do that? How can you be going one of the happiest people in the world to, you know, somebody says something and now all of a sudden you are just a raving lunatic. Now imagine being somebody who sits there and they hear something or they read something, and in 2 minutes they come back and read the identical same thing, and the two emotions are completely different. You know, the first time they laugh, the second time they break down and cry. That sucks. that 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 truly sucks, and it's a weird position to be in. It really is. um I don't remember being like that before the accident. You know, when I found things funny, I found them funny, and that's just the way they were. I don't ever remember to coming back to them, and you know, maybe because of a poor choice, something that was funny at one point in time, I realized how damning it was. You know, in situations like that, I can understand, but you know, reading an article that just was absolutely hilarious at one moment and then just unbelievably tragic. I don't remember it ever being like that, but it sure the hell is like that now. One of the most important parts about this is most of these symptoms are invisible. You cannot see them on someone's face. You can't see them in a photograph. You can't see them in a quick conversation at the coffee machine. Okay, there's a lot of times that you can see me and you can tell that, you know, or you can't tell that anything's wrong. Then there's other times that I'm reading the teleprompter and all of a sudden this eye closes or this eye is almost shut or something like that. You can tell I'm straining. And here's the dumbest thing about that. All right, I'm just going to say this right now. I'm going to admit this, and this is something that just drives me nuts. This doesn't help me read any easier. My brain shuts this eye. Not because it helps, just because it does. There are times when I'm not feeling full headed to where you can see the palsy on the right side of my face act up, and my mouth will stop moving or my eye will shut. And that at times has a tendency to make you feel different about yourself. You know, well, what are these people thinking when I walk into a room and it looks like I'm winking at someone and I'm not? You know, it's hard. And it takes time, months, years. I've been dealing with this for 11 years and I'll probably deal with it for a lifetime. Let's talk about what people are actually learning to manage after brain injuries. These are all real challenges that show up in workplaces every day. So, once again, we are going to go into how we can work together with people in day-to-day life, but we're going to put it in context, in context of working with them in a job. If you can master one situation, look, the truth is that if you can get it in one situation, taken care of in one situation, it transfers over. All right. If you can learn to work with someone, you can learn to live with someone. Living with someone's a hell of a lot harder, but you know, you know what I'm trying to say here. One of the first things I want to talk about is the cognitive load. Okay. Tasks that used to be simple now require more steps, more focus, more energy. A survivor might need written instructions, they might need reminders, they might need extra time to process the information. You might have to say it once or twice. Not because they're not paying attention, but there are times those words just turn into a different language. Maybe someone's in a situation I was talking about, like in a grocery store, and they're just in a situation where everything is going bonkers and they don't hear everything that you're talking. They can't fully understand everything you're talking about. When it comes to something like sensory overload, bright lights, loud conversations are terrible. Business environments, multiple people talking at once. These things can overwhelm a healing brain or a damaged brain. A coworker might need a quieter space or noise reducing tools. Um, I always have, well, except for of course right now, I'm always listening to something when I'm walking in a store or when I'm working. I have to listen to something so I can focus on what they're doing, so I can focus on what I'm doing, which of course makes it a little more difficult because I end up forgetting stuff because I was listening to something else. So it's a never ending cycle of frustration. but but it's really kind of the way that life has become for me at times. So um but maybe helping them get into a darker room where they can shut doors and shut windows and let the bad times pass, go into a place where it's quiet. And these are things that you need to really consider. Can we, you know, we want this person to be comfortable, we want them to be an employee. What are we going to do to make this happen? Brain fatigue is different from being tired. It can hit suddenly and it can shut down focus. It can make I did not do that on purpose. It can make speech harder. Survivors often need breaks to reset their brain, plain, pure, and simple. Short term memory can be unreliable, not because the person is not paying attention, but because the brain is still reconnecting pathways. Again, that's exacerbated by age because your brain loses a lot of that ability to connect things as we get older. Add an injury on top of that, and it just makes it even more difficult. A brain injury can affect mood, patience, and stress tolerance. Survivors often work hard to manage emotions that used to come naturally. When a person is sitting still, sitting quietly, it doesn't mean that they're tuned out. it doesn't mean this all the time that we're tuned out. It's we're trying to concentrate on what's going on around us. Maybe it's just extremely hard to focus on anything that's going on around us. And I understand that this makes us look like we are just not giving a damn about what's going on. But it's really, really hard to explain to somebody that feeling that you, as the survivor, is having in that moment, because you yourself kind of feel like, well, I'm not getting it. I'm not understanding it. Do I actually even care about it? Do I understand what's being said? You know, um, why am I not having any emotions towards this? You know, or quite simply, what the hell is going on? These are things that these go on in our own heads. We question our attention span far more than you ever could. Then you have the physical symptoms: headaches, dizziness, balance issues, vision problems. These can come and go depending on the day. And here's the truth: survivors are not asking for pity. They're just asking for understanding. They're asking for coworkers who do not assume or to not assume the worst. They're asking for workplaces that recognize healing is not linear. There is no one way to do things. The heart of today's episode is: how do we support coworkers who are living with a brain injury? How do we help them succeed without making them feel singled out or fragile? Couple things. One of the worst things you can do to somebody is to make them feel like the favorite child. One, you don't want that because it makes the other employees feel like crap. And two, it makes the employee who's recovering, well, depending on their attitudes, it either makes them uncomfortable because they don't want to be the favorite child, one, or two, they're going to take advantage of it and all hell's going to break loose anyway. The one thing that you do have to do, folks, though, is you have to practice patience. Healing takes time. Tasks may take longer. Conversations may need to be repeated. Patience is not a charity, it's teamwork. Number two, communicate clearly. Use simple, direct language. Break tasks into steps. Provide written instructions when possible. This helps the survivor and improves clarity for everyone. There are some times that you are going to have to put a person, uh, you know, check with them and find out, is doing something repetitive. Is this what's best for me? If I can do things the same way every day, doing the same thing every day, just constant doing the same thing, is that best for me? Am I in this position in my life that's going to be the best for us as a team? Could happen. They could be the perfect person for that job because they're not trying to focus on other things. They're not trying to focus on improvements to the way that it's being done. They're trying to just stay focused on what they're doing. So they could be the perfect person for that job. Three is important because three is something that we should do for everyone, regardless if you have a brain injury, regardless of who you are. Reduce unnecessary stress. Avoid rapid fire instructions. Avoid last minute changes when possible. Avoid loud or chaotic environments. If they are struggling with sensory overload, this just causes complications. Number four, another thing we should do for everyone is respect boundaries. If someone says they need a break, they need a break. If someone says they need quiet, they need quiet. These are not preferences. They are part of healing. They are part of not slipping down into a void. And that void is a place that sucks. And I just lost everything. So, oh, wow. I can't believe that just happened to me. Sorry about that. Number five is offer support without pity. Say things like, I can help with that, or let's work through this together. Avoid phrases like, you used to be so good at this. Are you sure you can handle this? Again, this is something you shouldn't do to anybody. Let's be honest. So, you want somebody to really feel like they've changed? Those are real quick ways to do it, no matter who they are. What we were just talking about is celebrate their strengths. Brain injury survivors often develop incredible skills, problem solving, creativity, empathy, determination. They deserve to be recognized for what they bring to a team. Make sure you are asking him what is the best, what works the best for you. Every brain is different. The best support comes from asking, not assuming. A coworker becomes quiet and withdrawn during a busy meeting. Instead of assuming they are disengaged, recognize that the noise and the overlapping conversations may be overwhelming. Offer notes afterwards. Check in privately. This is one of the reasons why I'm loving stuff like that Grammarly or the AI things after meetings, getting that, getting those notes that can come across and they can tell you, hey, you know what? While I was trying to concentrate on what this one person was saying, somebody else was saying something that I know it was important, but I was trying to concentrate here. Those are fantastic. They help out. What about forgetting a task? A survivor forgets a detail. Instead of frustration, maybe offer written checklists or shared documents. Again, this just supports them without any judgment. If a coworker needs to step away unexpectedly, instead of assuming they're avoiding work, understand that brain fatigue can hit like a wall. And it does hit like a wall. I mean, you will literally fall asleep standing up. Respect that they need the break. A survivor becomes frustrated or tearful. Instead of reacting with discomfort, give them the space and kindness. Emotional regulation is part of healing. And they don't, not every time do they need for you to figure it out. They don't need you to be there and lend an opinion on what's going on. You can ask, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Do you need me to sit here with you? You can do that. But at other times, they just may need to figure out what the hell their head is saying. It speaks a very, very complex language, and you never understand that until it's harder to understand that. So, brain injuries change lives. They change relationships, they change careers. But they do also reveal strengths. Survivors learn resilience, they learn patience. And like we've talked about this whole time, they learn how to rebuild themselves piece by piece. And coworkers can play a huge role in that journey. A supportive workplace can be the difference between someone thriving and someone just plain out giving up. A little understanding goes a long, long way. Look, today we've talked about the brain injuries. What survivors are learning at work, learning to work with, and how coworkers can help them succeed. Again, this is not just a workplace issue. This is a human issue. It's about dignity. It's about compassion. It's about recognizing that healing is not always visible. If you take one thing from this episode, let it be this: people with brain injuries are not broken, they're rebuilding, or they're just trying to figure it out. And every act of patience, every moment of understanding, every bit of support helps them to move forward. We once again are releasing a form at on the community compass. Okay, and I'm sorry about, believe me, I'm sorry about it, because it hurts me more than you having to look at me. Let's see. No, that's not going to be it. Okay. This is what the form looks like. Okay. And this could be a form that you use for people with brain injuries, or maybe you could just use this form for no matter what you're trying to hire someone for. I think this would be a great place to get started. In my eyes, this is a great place for us to get started just learning about our new hires. With this sheet, we're asking people to fill in their name, what the position is within the company, and we ask, what is your goal of this form? So, you can look at this right now as, this is what the goal is for me, and this is what I am hoping to obtain from this. And you can take and you can look at that and see if their goals match yours. Maybe that could help right there with placement. So, but the first section is all about understanding the needs of the person you are looking to employ. What symptoms or challenges are you currently managing? Memory issues, sensory overload, fatigue, headaches, emotional shifts, balance issues. Maybe there's something else that we haven't even talked about. They can put it in here. They can be honest. They can be, and most importantly, they can be assured that you understand. Hey, look, I wrote this down, that this was a problem. What tasks or environments are most difficult for you right now? Loud spaces, multitasking, long meetings, rapid instructions, bright lighting. What helps you stay focused and comfortable during a workday? I've already told you, for me, it's usually, as Adrian likes to call it, my dungeon. Not having a very bright document on this screen. That's for damn sure. What are some of the signs? And you And look, ask them to be honest. What are some of the signs coworkers, uh, you know, should be looking for if you need a moment to reset? You know, will your speech slow down? Difficulty concentrating, irritability, sudden fatigue, difficulty finding words. There's tons of stuff out there. The second section is all about support strategies for the workplace. Sorry. What community or communication style works best for you? Written notes, one topic at a time, slower pace. What environmental adjustments should will help you succeed? You know, um, should we find a smaller location for you to be at? Does echoing, is that distraction? You know, being in a place where you hear echoes? It's not a symptom that I have, but it is a symptom I've heard before. So, what scheduling or pacing adjustments would be helpful? What tools or resources support your work? Strengths and contributions. This is a great section, I think, because this allows people to tell you, hey, you know what? If we're able to figure this out, these are what I bring to you. What strengths do you bring to the team? What tasks or roles do you feel most natural or energize you? Doing repetitive work, doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I can concentrate on that one thing. I can master that one thing. And by God, I'm the best person you have to do that one thing. What accomplishments are you proud of since your injury? That one's important because that makes it to where they're not a victim, but they can prove that they've done things to improve their lives, and they're coming to you to improve yours. Some of the commitments. What support can employer commit to providing? What support can coworkers commit to providing? What boundaries need to be respected? No surprise tasks, no loud environments, no pressures to hide symptoms. First off, that last one's kind of a law. What follow up plan will help everyone stay aligned? Monthly check ins, updated task lists, shared communication tools. Then talk about your shared goals. What does success look like to you? Because this is what it looks like to me. Are we in a position where we can do this together, comfortably, safely? Let's move forward. What does success look like for the employer? So there's where you can ask the second part of that question. And most importantly, what does success look like for us as a team? This questionnaire, again, will be available on the Come Together Compass page uh, within the next couple days. I've got a couple other people looking at it to see what they think and to see if we should add or subtract anything. So please stick with us. If you have any suggestions, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me and you can say, hey, you know what? I looked at that and I think that it might benefit you to ask to add this. Your job Your business is just that. It's your business. You can take or leave any of these suggestions I just put forward. I just know, being in this situation, there are certain things that I know I have to do for myself. I have to ask myself those questions every day. I have to make sure I understand those questions every day. Because there are days, folks, the Zach that shows up isn't the one that was here yesterday. And boy, that's a royal pain in the ass. That guy is very unreliable at times, let me tell you. If you respect someone with an injury of any kind, they're going to notice it and they're going to work harder for you. I also know a lot of these questions and a lot of the things that we've been talking about could lead down a slippery slope. A lot of these things that we've been talking about could lead to someone being, it's human nature, and unfortunately, we can't do anything about it. Okay. Laziness happens. You find people taking advantage of what you've created, you do you. If you were to pose this questionnaire to every employee that you've got, and you make every employee feel like the employee, I guarantee you're going to have a lot more success than if you just take and look, here it is, take it or leave it. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Text me first, 970-909-0751, 970-909-0751, or send me an email at any point in time, zach@communitypayitforward.us, zach@communitypayitforward.us. It is much easier to get a hold of me by emailing me than it is phone calls. Brain injuries are different. You break an arm, they can put it in a cast, 6 to 8 weeks, your arm is healed. You can't do that with the brain. You have no idea what the timetable is. You don't know what's going on. You don't know how it affects the person, their attitude, who they were. You don't know until it becomes apparent. 11 years out from my accident, and I'm still finding new things that are happening. And as I get older, none of these things are making life any better. Learning about who we are, learning about who they are, respecting who each of us is the best way for us to maintain happy, healthy relationships, whether it's in work, in business, in everyday life, and in friendships. So why don't we take a concerted effort, every single one of us, and let's get to know each other, in a healthier way. And let's make sure that we're not leaving anyone out. March 1st was No Discrimination Day. Well, let's change that. Let's make every day No Discrimination Day. How does that sound? Let me know. Zach at communitypayitforward.us. Zach at communitypayitforward.us. Or text me first, and I'll call you back at 970-909-0751. 970-909-0751. Folks, my name is Zach Clayton. I am the president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, the Come Together Compass, and IMpACT podcasting networks. I want to thank you very much for joining us. And please always remember that if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. And the best way to make sure that we can help people or get the help we need is to never shut up. Silence has never helped anyone. If you need help, ask what you need. If you want to offer help, tell people what you can do for them. Thank you very much. We will see you again on Monday morning for Footprints Forward. Community Pay It Forward isn't just another rewards program. It's a movement built on compassion and connection. We link everyday businesses, nonprofits, and neighbors so simple actions like buying lunch, getting your car fixed, or hiring a service can create lasting impact. When you choose one of our giving partners, part of your purchase goes directly to families, veterans, children, or community missions in need. It doesn't cost you a dime more. It just means your purchases matter. Because here, every transaction tells a story. And our belief is simple. If you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. Because at Community Pay It Forward, no one needs to go it alone when we all come together.
Say, bring me home, out alone, to show me the way. You wanna hold the heart of Sunset Boulevard. Bring me here, 'cause it's not quite clear to be a part of Sunset Boulevard.